The courtroom smelled like old wood polish and nervous
Mr. Cobb,
sweat.
I
The
have
kind of
reviewed
place
your
where
file.
small-town justice moved
Your
slower
service to
than the
this
ceiling
country is
fans
noted.
creaking overhead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Harold Pemberton had presided over this county court for 22 years, and in that time he had developed a reputation for two things: fairness and an incurable habit of cracking jokes to lighten the mood before sentencing hearings that made grown men cry. That morning, the case on his docket was minor. An 83-year-old man named Elias Cobb had been cited for disorderly conduct after a scuffle outside a hardware store, defending a teenager who was being harassed by three drunk men twice his age. Elias sat at the defendant's table in a threadbare denim jacket, his spine straight as a rifle barrel despite his age, his hands folded with the stillness of a man who had learned patience in places far harder than a courtroom. The judge flipped through the file, noting the man's military background almost as an afterthought. 2 tours, Purple Heart, Silver Star. Judge Pemberton smiled, trying to soften the tension in the room the way he always did. "Mr. Cobb," he said, leaning back in his leather chair, "I see here you served with some distinction. Bet you had one of those tough guy nicknames, didn't you? Every soldier's got a call sign in the movies. What was yours? Eagle? Reaper? Guess we'll never know, huh?" A ripple of polite laughter moved through the gallery. The bailiff chuckled. Even the court reporter smiled without looking up from her keys. It was meant to be nothing, a throwaway joke to ease a tense old man before a light sentence. Elias did not laugh. His eyes, pale blue and rimmed with the kind of exhaustion that never fully leaves certain men, lifted slowly to meet the judge's gaze. The room's temperature seemed to drop, though no window had opened and no fan had stopped turning. "Butcher," Elias said quietly. The word landed like a dropped weapon. Judge Pemberton's smile faltered, the practiced ease slipping from his face as though someone had pulled a curtain back on something he wasn't prepared to see. He set down his pen. "I'm sorry," the judge said. "Come again?" "They called me Butcher," Elias repeated, his voice steady, without pride and without shame, simply a fact laid bare on the table between them. 3rd Battalion, 1968. Ayadrang Valley and points north nobody ever put on a map. I earned that name pulling men out of places they weren't supposed to walk out of, and leaving behind things I still see when I close my eyes. The laughter in the gallery had died entirely. The bailiff's smile was gone. Somewhere in the back row, an older woman who had once been a combat nurse in another lifetime sat up straighter, recognition flickering across her face like a struck match. Judge Pemberton removed his glasses, folding them slowly, buying himself a moment he clearly needed. His own father had served in Vietnam, had come home broken in ways nobody in the family ever discussed at dinner, had died young with nightmares he refused to name. The judge had spent decades running from that silence, and now it sat across from him wearing a threadbare jacket, correcting the record with the calm dignity of a man who had made peace with his own darkness a long time ago. "Mr. Cobb," the judge said, his voice noticeably different now, stripped of its earlier lightness. "I owe you an apology. That was a poor attempt at humor, and I clearly had no idea what I was joking about." "You didn't know?" Elias said simply. "Most people don't. That's all right. I didn't come here for medals or memory. I came here because a boy was getting hurt outside a hardware store, and nobody else was doing anything about it." The judge nodded slowly, looking down at the file in front of him, at the citation for disorderly conduct that suddenly felt small and foolish against the weight of the man sitting there. He thought of his father's silence, of the nightmares nobody had ever helped him carry, of a debt this country so often forgot it owed. "The charges against you are dismissed," the judge said, his voice thick. "And Mr. Cobb, if it means anything at all, thank you. Not for today. For all of it." Elias gave a small nod, the same economical motion of a man who had spent his life doing what needed doing without waiting for thanks. As he rose from the table, gathering his worn jacket around his shoulders, the courtroom erupted into applause, the same gallery that had laughed moments earlier now standing on their feet, some with tears in their eyes. The teenager Elias had defended sat in the front row, watching the old man walk past him toward the exit. He reached out, stopping Elias with a light touch on his arm. "Thank you," the boy said quietly. "For back there," For everything. Elias paused at the door, looking back at the courtroom one final time, at the judge who now understood, at the gallery that had learned something they would carry home with them. "Just doing what Butcher does," he said, and walked out into the sunlight, carrying 6 decades of silence with the same steady grace he had carried everything else.